If there's one story from the Cold War that deserves more spotlight, it's the tale of a tiny metal workhorse that kept the Arctic alive when every other power source froze, cracked, or quit. It's the kind of secret that makes you rethink everything you thought you knew about survival tech. The quiet invention that outlasted storms, darkness, and time itself. And if you love uncovering long-lost gear with real survival lessons baked into their steel bones, then you'll want to hit subscribe to Prepper's Survival Blueprint, because this is exactly the kind of forgotten engineering that separates the prepared from the lucky. When the Cold War pushed farther north than human comfort was ever meant to go, both superpowers ran into the same brutal question. How do you keep critical stations alive in a land that kills technology? The Arctic wasn't just cold, it was relentless. Months of darkness, temperatures that turned diesel into syrup, winds strong enough to tear antennas off towers. Batteries froze, generators stalled, solar panels slept for half the year. And yet early warning radar sites, weather stations, navigation beacons, and unmanned relay points all needed to run without fail. Lives depended on them. Strategy depended on them. The balance of world power depended on them. Conventional tech didn't stand a chance. But then came the device that refused to die. The Cold War's unsung hero was the Radioisotope Thermoelectric Generator, the RTG. Think of a metal cylinder the size of a small stove, sealed tight, rugged as a tank, humming quietly in the blinding snow. Inside it sat a heat source that never needed fuel, never needed repairs, and never cared how angry the weather became. No pistons, no belts, no gears, no moving parts at all. Just a steady burn of heat from a radioisotope paired with a material that could turn temperature differences into electricity. As long as the core stayed warm, and it stayed warm for decades, the RTG delivered power. Predictable, unbothered, unbreakable. In the Arctic, that mattered. Because the colder the world around the RTG grew, the more efficiently it worked. The greater the temperature gap, the stronger the electrical output. Nature itself boosted the signal. This wasn't accidental, it was engineering tailored for a battlefield of ice. Placing an RTG in the Arctic was like planting a flag that said, "We're staying, whether the weather likes it or not." Wind could howl at 100 miles per hour. Snow could bury it for months. Temperatures could plummet so low that steel shrank and cracked. And still the RTG kept working. Once installed, these generators sat untouched for 10, 15, even 20 years. Maintenance flights were rare and dangerous. But the US and Soviet militaries knew they could rely on these devices because the design was brutally simple and impossibly reliable. In an age obsessed with missiles and megatons, it was the quiet, steady hum of the RTG that kept the Arctic alive. It powered lighthouses. It powered remote beacons that warned aircraft of invisible coastlines. It kept meteorological stations running during months when planes couldn't fly and skies refused to clear. It held the line during the darkest, coldest nights of geopolitical tension. And decades later, long after the flags had changed and the maps had shifted. Clean-up teams sometimes found old RTGs still sitting on wind-carved cliffs, still alive. That's not just engineering. That's endurance perfected. Now, you can't build an RTG at home. Not legally, not safely, not ever. But the philosophy behind it? That's something every prepper, off-grid homesteader and field engineer can learn from. Keep technology as simple as possible. RTGs worked because nothing inside them could break. No moving parts means nothing to freeze, jam or clog. In survival, simplicity isn't just elegance, it's power. Let nature work for you. The Arctic cold wasn't the enemy, it was the engine. The RTG thrived because the environment amplified its output. That's a principle we can use today with modern thermoelectric generators, TEGs. A TEG plate on a wood stove won't light a city, but it will charge devices or run LED lights with zero moving parts and zero noise. Small power, but dependable power. Weatherproof everything. RTGs were built like vaults, sealed, insulated, durable. If you're designing off-grid systems, expect storms, moisture and long periods without maintenance. Build for the place you're going, not the place you wish it was. Redundancy is life. The Cold War taught engineers that in extreme environments, reliability outranks elegance every time. Simple casings, direct wiring paths, rugged mounts that won't shift when the wind wants to tear them apart. If a system must work no matter what, build it like a Cold War engineer, with the expectation that nature will try to kill it. These generators weren't flashy, they weren't glamorous. Most people today don't even know they existed, but without them the Arctic would have remained a blank spot on the strategic map. RTGs were the quiet guardians of the far north. They kept the navigation lights glowing on remote shorelines. They kept communication nodes alive long before satellites were reliable. They kept early warning systems scanning the skies for threats that might never come, but had to be watched for all the same. For decades, they were the heartbeat of the Arctic frontier. And when the Cold War thawed, some of them were still beating. History books focus on leaders and crises, but survivalists and engineers know the truth. The world is shaped just as much by the inventions that work in silence. The Arctic RTG is one of those inventions, a metal monk humming through the endless night. It proves that when the stakes are life and death, the simplest machine is often the strongest. And it reminds us of a lesson that matters even more today. When you face an environment with no mercy, you need tools that don't beg for it. If you want more forgotten tech, more survival lessons hidden in history, and more deep dives that sharpen your mindset and your skill set, make sure you subscribe to Prepper's Survival Blueprint and share this episode with someone who appreciates real, hard-earned knowledge. The frontier still has secrets. Let's keep uncovering them together.